You ever get that feeling, like your brain's trying to process a million things at once, but not really getting a grip on any of them? Kind of like drowning in information, but still thirsty for, I don't know, a little clarity.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. It's that information overload feeling.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we're all about here on the deep dive. We take those mountains of information and try to sift out the real gems, the insights that really make you think.
That's right, those aha moments. And today, we're diving into a really fascinating text, a section of a work known as XII. Specifically, we're looking at pages 218 through 250.
All right, not skimming the surface here. This is about going deep, exploring the very nature of consciousness, the interplay between our intuition and logic, that kind of stuff. The big questions about who we are and how we understand the world.
Exactly. This deep dive isn't about just summarizing the text either. It's about having a real conversation, exploring the ideas in a way that hopefully makes you think differently, see things from a new angle.
I like that. So jumping right in, one of the first things that struck me in this section was the concept of the red man and the black man. Pretty powerful image.
Yeah, it really is. And what I find intriguing is how the text uses these figures as symbols to represent two fundamental aspects of human cognition.
Okay, so break that down for me. What exactly do these men represent?
Well, think of the red man as embodying the active, giving side of our nature. He's all about intuition, that gut feeling you get, those immediate responses that aren't always based on logic. It's that primal force within us that drives us to grow, to experience, to connect with the world in a direct, almost visceral way. It's about recognizing those deep internal urges and impulses that shape our actions and decisions.
Okay, so that's the red man, our intuitive side. What about the black man?
Yeah.
He seems a bit more, I don't know, mysterious.
He is, in a way. The black man is portrayed as the passive, receptive side of our being. This is where our capacity for reason, analysis, and logic comes in. He's associated with the element of water, symbolizing potential, and air, which the text links to our ability to divide, categorize, and understand the world around us through knowledge. He's about taking in information, processing it, and using it to build a coherent understanding of reality.
So potential being shaped by knowledge. That's a really cool way to put it. But are these two men always at odds with each other? Like, is it intuition versus logic all the time?
Not necessarily. In fact, the text makes it clear that these two aspects, the red man and the black man, are fundamentally inseparable. They operate in their own distinct ways, yeah, but they're not in constant conflict. Intuition will always be driven by that inner impulse, while reason will always seek understanding through analysis and observation.
So it's more of a dance between the two, a constant interplay.
Exactly. And through this interplay, this back and forth between our intuitive insights and our rational assessments, human progress happens. The text frames this as a journey towards the unification of opposites. Heaven and earth, the great and the small, the external and the internal. It's through the combined action of these two forces that we move toward a more complete understanding of ourselves and the universe.
A path towards, I guess, some kind of ultimate knowledge or wisdom.
Exactly, that's the implication. Now, shifting gears a bit, another concept that really caught my attention was the idea that human life itself is intrinsically linked to movement. What do you make of that?
That's an interesting one. It's like saying we're not meant to be stagnant, right? We have to be constantly evolving, changing, pushing forward.
Right, and the text takes it a step further. It suggests that our very consciousness is in perpetual motion. It's not a static thing, but a dynamic process of exploration and engagement with the world. It's constantly flowing, changing, adapting to new information and experiences.
So it's not just that we as individuals move through the world, but our very consciousness is always in motion as well. It's like a river constantly flowing and changing course.
That's a great analogy. And this constant motion leads to a cycle of creation and perception. We're constantly generating new thoughts, feelings, and experiences, what the text calls new phenomena, and at the same time, we're also perceiving reflections of deeper realities, what it refers to as new noumena.
Noumena, so like the essence of things, the underlying truth or reality behind what we perceive with our senses?
Exactly. It's like the blueprint behind a building or the code behind a computer program. So we're constantly interacting with both the surface level of things and their deeper hidden dimensions.
That makes sense. And how does our perception of time fit into this whole idea of movement and change? Because we tend to think of time as this linear, constant thing.
Right, but the text suggests that true time, the way we actually experience it, isn't measured by clocks or calendars. It's measured by the impressions we receive, the intensity and impact of our experiences.
So like how sometimes a really exciting day can feel like it flew by in an instant, but a boring or difficult day can feel like it dragged on forever.
Exactly. Our internal experience of time is relative and subjective, shaped by the depth and quality of our engagement with the world.
I like that. It's a reminder to savor those meaningful moments because they really do shape how we perceive the passage of time. Now, the text also mentions this concept of the breath of Ea. What exactly is Ea and how does its breath relate to our consciousness?
Ea, in this context, is kind of like the boundary or limit of our earthly consciousness. It's the sphere of influence within which our awareness operates. The breath of Ea is described as being eternally alive, a constant pulsation of energy, while our individual consciousnesses move and evolve within its confines.
So like a contained ecosystem, full of life, but with a defined boundary.
A really good analogy. And the text emphasizes the limitations of human consciousness when it's bound to the physical world, to this earthly realm. To understand this better, it introduces the idea of different planes of existence, specifically mentioning the square pentacle of Arcanum the Seventh, which relates to the planes of Adi, Anupadaka, and Atma.
Planes of existence, so like different levels or layers of reality.
Yes, exactly. Each with its own unique characteristics and rules. And what's interesting is that the text suggests these planes aren't organized or coordinated by the fundamental essence of consciousness itself, but rather by its attributes. Specifically, it emphasizes the interplay between freedom and constraint within each plane.
Okay, so different realities with different rules. Can you give me an example of how that works?
Sure. The text uses the concept of time as an example. In our physical world, time feels linear and fixed, always moving forward. But in the astral world, the realm of dreams and imagination, time can be fluid and nonlinear. We can jump back and forth, revisit the past, even experience events out of order.
Yeah, like in those dreams where you can be in multiple places at once or relive old memories as if they were happening again.
Exactly. So different rules apply in different realms. Now, building on this idea of different planes, the text also describes this concept of a vertical oscillation of the plane of consciousness.
Vertical oscillation, so like an up and down movement.
Hmm.
What's actually moving?
Think of it like this. Our higher self, or spirit, often referred to as Atman, is constantly expressing itself through our physical consciousness. This vertical oscillation is the way that expression manifests. It's like a pendulum swinging between our everyday awareness and a deeper, more spiritual understanding.
Okay, so we're constantly moving between these two levels of awareness.
In a way, yes. And the text suggests that what lies above our immediate consciousness, closer to Atman, is considered more real, more true. What lies below represents potential that's waiting to be unfolded.
Like a constant interplay between what we are and what we could become.
Precisely. And the text goes on to explain that the extent of this oscillation, how far the pendulum swings, actually increases as our consciousness evolves. In the very early stages, our awareness is mostly confined to the physical world, like the automatic processes we see in nature. But as we develop, we start to access higher levels of reason, intuition, and spiritual understanding.
It's like a gradual awakening of our potential.
Yes, exactly. And the text uses various examples to illustrate this progression. It talks about nebula, crystals, vegetation, and the animal kingdom as representing different stages in the unfolding of consciousness, ultimately culminating in the emergence of the human spirit in what it calls the fourth world.
A step-by-step process of becoming more aware, more conscious.
Exactly. And then it introduces the concept of the great initiate, which represents the complete manifestation of pure spirit. The text describes this as achieving a state of divinity, and it even talks about a voluntary death that the great initiate undergoes.
Death. That sounds a bit ominous.
It's not meant to be a literal death. It's more like a transcending of the limitations of the physical Ea, a moving beyond the boundaries of our earthly existence to a higher state of being.
So a shedding of the physical form to reach a higher level of consciousness.
Exactly. And this brings us to the idea that human existence itself is cyclical. We oscillate between earthly lives and periods of existence in the broader cosmic space. This cycle is driven by the pulsation of the physical Ea, its breath, drawing us back into the physical realm for a time and then releasing us back into a less constrained state.
Like the ebb and flow of the tides, or maybe even the breath itself. Now, the text also delves into the difference between consciousness and conscious awareness. I gotta admit, I'm a bit fuzzy on that one.
Yeah, it's a subtle distinction, but an important one. From our perspective as earthly beings, Conscious awareness is like a continuous curve that's derived from a sine wave. The parts of the curve that dip below a certain axis represent the periods between our physical incarnations, those times when our consciousness isn't actively engaged in the earthly realm.
So like a light switch turning on and off between lifetimes.
In a way, yes. And within a single lifetime, the text suggests that we develop toward a peak of awareness and then naturally decline. The full potential of consciousness for that particular life is fully experienced only for a brief moment at that peak when the plane of consciousness turns back upward from the physical world.
That's interesting. It's like that idea of reaching your prime.
Exactly. And conscious awareness itself is defined as a kind of derivative of consciousness over time, shaped by the movement of the plane of consciousness within the whole person. It's like saying our level of awareness at any given moment is influenced by our entire journey of development, not just our immediate state.
Okay, I think I'm starting to grasp that. Now, moving on, the text talks about the emergence of self-awareness and individuality. When does that spark ignite, according to Thoth?
What's fascinating is that the text links the very beginning of human history to that moment when we first became aware of our own unique worth as earthly beings. It's that initial recognition of our separateness from the rest of the natural world, that sense of, I am a distinct individual.
So that's when the I emerges, the sense of self.
Exactly. And the text contrasts this with the more fixed instincts and inherited behaviors of animal species. It suggests that as we move up the evolutionary ladder, we see an increasing capacity for individuality and free will, culminating in human beings. Animals are described as being more directly connected to their environment, while humans experience a sense of alienation or separation that, paradoxically, is crucial for the development of individuality.
It's like that feeling of not quite belonging, of being a bit different, actually helps us define who we are as individuals.
Exactly. It creates the space for self-reflection and the development of a unique identity. Now, the text also explores how our entire consciousness participates in our experiences and how that deepens our individuality.
Okay, unpack that one for me.
It basically argues that if our consciousness and will were limited to just isolated elements within us, like a single thought or emotion, then every experience would only reflect that limited perspective. But because our entire being participates in each experience, the individuality of our feelings and perceptions is amplified. It's not just one part of us reacting, it's the whole of our being coloring the experience.
So all my past experiences, my beliefs, my entire inner world shapes how I perceive and react to something in the present moment.
Exactly. And this unique flavor of our experiences is shaped both by our inherent individuality, our starting point, and our level of development at that moment. The text suggests that each of us essentially lives in our own unique world when we experience different emotions or sensations, and our task is to translate those internal realities into external actions.
We're all experiencing the same world, but through slightly different filters based on our own individual journeys.
That's a great way to put it. And where does this core individuality come from? The text suggests that the individuality of our higher self, Atman, provides the general framework, the blueprint, and then our active consciousness in the world of being fills in the details.
So Atman provides the outline, and our choices and experiences create the specific picture.
Precisely. Finally, this section of Uta 12 delves into the concept of self-knowledge in the astral realm.
The astral realm. Always a bit mysterious, that one.
It can be, but the way it's presented here is fascinating. It builds on this idea that as we evolve, our perception of the world becomes more nuanced, filtered through a wider range of feelings. And the key point is that in any given experience, we're perceiving not just through a single aspect of ourselves, but through our entire being.
So it's a holistic way of experiencing the world.
Exactly. And therefore, the text argues that in every perception, we should be aiming for two things: to understand the experience itself, and to understand ourselves through the nuances of how we experience it.
So every interaction, every feeling, every thought is both a lesson about the world and a mirror reflecting back our own unique individuality.
Precisely. The astral realm, in this context, isn't some far-off place, but the realm of our inner experience, our thoughts and feelings. And it's through consciously engaging with these inner experiences in relation to the external world that we gain true self-knowledge.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the duality of the red man and black man to the cyclical nature of consciousness and the importance of self-knowledge. It's been quite a journey into the depths of what it means to be human.
It really has. And what's remarkable about these specific pages of Uj is how they manage to present such complex ideas in a way that's both profound and accessible. It's a reminder that the most important journey we can take is the one inward, toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe.
Absolutely. It makes you think about how often we go through life on autopilot, not really paying attention to those subtle internal cues that could guide us toward a more fulfilling and meaningful existence. Maybe the greatest knowledge isn't about what's out there in the world, but what's within us all along.
And that's a great place to leave it. It's something to ponder, to reflect on. How can we cultivate both our intuition and our reason, our inner and outer worlds, in a way that brings us closer to a more authentic and meaningful life?
Definitely food for thought. And if you're as intrigued by these ideas as we are, we highly encourage you to explore 12 yourself. You might be surprised at what you discover.